Oh, the Troy wanted to be on, but he's dealing with fire. So he can. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, and of course, happy new month, since we're starting a new month today. And since the show kind of was in the middle, I figured I'd do a month end, month beginning panel show. We have some great people on, but I thought I would start with an interview with Ken from 700 Credit, being that I've been talking to a lot of dealers lately, where basically they said, hey, now I'm dealing with more subprime than I used to. So let's start with that. And then I will be launching two new interviews probably this week. One is, I can't talk about the company yet because it's not announced. And the other one is a gentleman who runs community outreach for a dealer group. I'm not sure where they are. But anyway, here we go.
We're BMW group the other day that we offer a soft pull pre-qualification product that's very, best used high in the sales funnel. And they were like, we really don't need this. Everybody that's buying a BMW has a great credit score, so no need to wonder at the top of the sales funnel. So they canceled with us. And not saying all BMW dealers should cancel that product, but that was their view of the world. So
are they unaware that in most U.S. markets, that number is somewhere between 25 and 40% less than perfect, right?
Yeah. And depending what your definition is, less than perfect, right? Let's score, right, based on qualifications for OEM programs or what have you, right? It can be higher, much higher than that.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing
So I was talking to a friend of mine who's actually working in the U.S. and she's looking at a job at a MITS store. They want to sell 70 new Mitsubishis a month. And I was like, that's a pretty high watermark. But anyway, do what you want. Anyway, here we go. And this is the premiere of the new Larry endorsement. So stay tuned. Here we go.
Life is about connection. Having a support system to lean on. And roads to endless possibility. At every turn, guiding the way, we are building the connections that move you.
I'm Vince Delmonico, General Sales Manager with Cruise Ford Lincoln. Larry Feldman came out and did one of our training courses. Absolutely incredible. I sat through the course myself. The engagement that our salespeople gained from it, the excitement that he brings, it was a new way of looking at things that we're already doing and how we can improve them. Love it. It's literally the best thing since sliced bread.
How do you adventure? Is it fast? Is it free? Is it clear? Is it rugged? Is it remote? For your next adventure, trust MotoClose for buying, selling, trading, and protecting all of your motorized assets. Powered by Disclose Dealership Management Dashboard, your all-in-one DMS, CRM, menu, lead gen, inventory, staff, client, and deal management solution. Disclose DMD, like a DMS, only better. Mention promo code AutoHub 2025 to get special pricing, including waive setup costs, no contract, and your first month's free.
Car dealers often underestimate the power of social media. Are you wondering why my face is plastered in your newsfeed? Are you a GM, dealer principal, or a manager at a car dealership wondering why you see me all the time on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and all over social media? Well, that didn't happen by chance. I target car dealers that are in-market shoppers for social media services, and I'm going to do the exact same thing for you so that you target in-market shoppers for your brand of customers that purchase your vehicles. During my vidAuto days, helping car dealers appraise and price cars, everyone was asking me, what do I do on social media? What do I do with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? And this was back in 2016. So here we are 10 years later. I started a company, became an entrepreneur, and now I help car dealers. They either outsource their social media needs to us, or we have a training and education center where we can teach all of your employees how to do social media in-house. 90% of consumers actually follow a business on Instagram. The average adult sits on TikTok for 2 hours a day in the rabbit hole. To learn more information about it or to get a demo from one of my sales associates, click the link below. We would absolutely love to help you.
All righty. So let's move everyone over. So 1 second here. All right. So how's everyone doing today on this balmy Monday morning in the car business, the car adventure? Go ahead. I think who's on first? I think who's on first was Peter today. And I believe he was at the launch of something. I'm not quite sure what it was, but some sort of launch in upstate New York. Not that you really need a reason to go to upstate New York because you're close by, but maybe you can share some details on that, Peter.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Last week, well, the last month for me has been very, very busy. I visited 22 states, then was back in the U.S. for the launch of AutoHub 2.0, which was their launch of the merger of their marketing company Congruent with AutoHub, and their new standard is going to be create a business where people will fight to join rather than last chance romance that it is now. It was a very unique event. I got to meet some people that I hadn't had the opportunity to meet yet. Todd Caputo, Matthew Lasher, Nathan Greklich, or Nathaniel Greklich, and a number of others. And it was a great event. Again, they're pushing the whole purpose of the business is to serve others, not to basically look at our profits over purpose. So I commend them.
Thanks for that. And just so you know, the VidCalls trial has been extended due to overwhelming demand. I think we're topping it out on the 15th. So if you're looking for video for free for 60 days, so a free test drive, just register on the site below. So Larry, you went through the VidCalls onboarding experience. I know that you did over the weekend. How easy was it?
Very easy.
Fantastic. So tell us about your endorsement.
Well, it's kind of circular because the way I got in there was through your show, Ian.
Mm-hmm.
I met Brooke Furness, and she's besides becoming a very good friend, keeps recommending me to people, and she recommended me to a dealer in Minnesota, Cruise Motors, for recruiting. And every time I talked to the guy, I said, "Man, you got a lot of energy. I heard some good things about your training. Would you come out?" And it went so well a couple of weeks ago that he asked me if I could come back right away. So I rearranged my schedule. I'm in Atlanta. When I get home, I'm shooting back up to Minnesota. I'm trying to avoid Minnesota in the winter. I think you'll all understand that.
So you don't want to visit the Prince Museum there?
I went to, this is not a made up story. It's just so silly. It sounds like it is. There was one of those strange curves in the weather about 10 years ago, maybe even 11 years ago. And it was warmer in Minnesota than it was in New York and Philadelphia.
Interesting.
And I happened to go there. I was doing a training and recruiting thing. And on Monday, it was gorgeous. And man, I was like, wow, this is great. And by Wednesday, the wind chill was 60 degrees below zero. I commend the people that are hale and hardy, but I don't know how to help people do that. And I start wearing a parka Doug in July. That's how thin my blood is. But
so you're living there by choice? Please explain.
Hey, it's like how do you live in Buffalo with all that snow? I mean, it's a cool city and there's a lot of enthusiasm for their football team, but man, They don't get an inch of snow. They get feet of snow.
Pretty high suicide rate in Buffalo, probably for lots of reasons, but it's a pretty great place. Having been there quite a few times. So I got a question for you about these endorsement videos. You get all these dealers to do those. How do you get them to do it, and what tips do you have? Because like I've seen a bunch from you, and I'm just curious.
You guys may want to write this down. This is really complicated. I answered them. Hey, would you mind endorsing me? I'm going to hold the camera up for 30 seconds and just tell them all the wonderful things you can think about me. If you're not for yourself, and if you don't inspire confidence in people, and you're afraid to look somebody in the eye and say, "What do you think of me?" then I don't know why the hell you'd be in a business that involves sales or confidence or anything else. Ian, you and Jeff Polo were a couple of my trainings, and I remember you said to me, that was pretty interesting, Larry. It was 3 hours. It felt like 10 minutes. So if you're really going to move people and excite them and not bore them, why the hell wouldn't you ask for it? This is, Doug, I've been on a couple shows recently, and I was saying how ridiculous it is that the purpose of the CSI follow-ups is to get money from the OEM, as opposed to you should follow up with your damn customers so they'll stay your customers and get your repeat referral business.
100%.
I've never been shy, and if I do a good job, hey, let's tell everybody about it. Not complicated at all. Ian.
So do you train the salespeople in the training that maybe they might want to get a quick video of their customers saying how great they were? Do you train them on that?
Sure, because at this point, I would guess from the fact that nobody on this this Zoom call is 18 years old, that we all look a little bit at social media as what it is.
Yeah.
Boy, it has some strange, self-indulgent, ridiculous things on it. But guess what? It's the only game in town. Where else are you going to reach hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of people by holding your face up to the camera and going, hey, here's where I am.
The 100-day challenge, congratulations.
Whoa, crazy. 100-day challenge. Crazy. So, Doug, I know you guys have nothing to do with any kind of video or customer service or anything to do with maybe making it easier for customers. What's your opinion on sort of the, I guess, how things have changed over the last little bit as people have maybe embraced a little more on the differences, being that there's now new competition in the market versus before where it was like people walked in? I mean, what have you noticed?
Well, I'm going to take a kind of a slight detour. I'm going to be attending for the next 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, the Now is Non-Negotiable event here in Denver.
Oh, okay.
And they're bringing in experts from other industries to address hopefully a room full of car dealers on what it takes to have a better customer experience.
Wow.
I'll be very intrigued, given the fact that, I mean, the four of us plus others have been screaming about this for years.
Yeah.
I'll be very intrigued to see how that message resonates with that room full of people for 2 days. I was thinking this morning, going, okay, if you were a dealer, what's the one thing, if you could focus on one thing to make your dealership successful, what would that one thing be?
Right.
And I had a hard time going away from, the dealership experience. So I'll be very interested in seeing what the response is. It's a very unique event. They're setting up dinners where it's 9 people plus one of the speakers at like 8 different restaurants.
Interesting.
So you can have some intimate time. Yeah, they're saying that this is going to be a totally different event.
Mm-hmm.
Very few vendors. In fact, I'm not going as a vendor. I'm going just as an attendee. So I'll be very interested, though, in general, to see if this resonates, if this gains any traction.
Are you going to be available sort of Wednesday night to jump on Lethal Sales and maybe give us some thoughts at 7 p.m. East?
I don't know. I think the thing ends around, actually I probably will. I think it ends in the middle of the afternoon on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I will try to make that call.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts, because it's a topic that, I've been banging a drum on probably for 25 years, but definitely for the last 7.
Yeah.
But
I recently heard someone say that they thought that if there was one thing dealers could do to make their businesses better, it was to hire Larry Feldman. Now, I am the one that said it, actually, but nonetheless, Right, Peter? I don't want to get shy on that. Lake.
Interestingly enough, Larry, that did not enter my thoughts this morning as I thought of it on a grander scale. But as you say that, okay, that would certainly, make the list of potential things they might want to do. Sure.
And they wouldn't be bored. I can put that in writing. That's a guarantee. No
so
board.
Doug, I think you were looking at it as a macro level, not a micro level.
Yes, I was very macro. Very macro. Yes, exactly.
Right. If you were looking at a micro level and no shot at Larry with his height, but it's definitely Larry is a very, very anti-training trainer, which is why he is so successful in what he does. He does not follow the script of, okay, you have to do this, because that's not what the customer is looking for.
No.
So he is absolutely one of the key people in the US doing what he does. And I
So Larry, I think you could call that an endorsement. I'm not quite sure if you could use it, but it's definitely an endorsement.
I like it.
Yeah.
So
but it is interesting to see. I mean, I don't know. My forehead is flat for how many times we banged our heads against the wall about this topic. And it is interesting to think that, I would like to think that there's a somewhat significant percentage of the leadership within our industry that have the intellectual wherewithal to understand the importance of this matter. Yet it just doesn't seem to resonate. Now, it was interesting that like 86% of people in the latest survey, I guess, were happy with their purchase experience.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, is happy mean that, I'm happy that I'm feeling better because I no longer have a fever, but I'm still bedridden. So I don't know what that means exactly.
Well,
so what would shock you though? But what would shock you?
Hey, hold on, Peter. Now I'm not kidding. Another thing that dealers could do is make their teams more responsive.
Yep.
I just made a quick deal with somebody because I answered my damn phone. And I don't think you should get a medal for answering your phone or responding to an email before the turn of the next century. But if we were a little more responsive, if every dealer either had his friend or his cousin or a member of his family call the dealership and act like a customer, if every dealer went to his own website to see what the true customer experience is, that's something they could really do to beef up and find. And then, of course, when that fails miserably, then they can call me. Go ahead, Peter.
So I picked the fight again on LinkedIn with a
That's a shocker.
Hold on. In further news, birds are flying and fish are swimming. In other sunny news.
Knock, knock, knock.
Schizophrenic, you'd pick a fight with yourself, but it's okay. We like feisty people.
So did you learn anything from the fight, or was it just a drag down?
No, it was just basically a well-known dealer principal that had a lot of stores. Now he has no stores. Talking about vendor-dealer relations and how vendors should give dealers 6 months free service.
It wouldn't start with a B, would it? Would it start with a B?
Possibly. So I decided to weigh in, and I basically explained the math of it all. And first I said, give me one of your Lexuses for 6 months. Oh, that's not apples to apples. Well, it is, because if I put in a high-level software, I have to put in a performance team. I have to do this. It's going to cost me $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 just to put it into your dealership. Therefore, it's the same as the depreciation on a car for 6 months on a high level car. So it's apples to apples. Don't tell me it's not. Then it came back that, well, you have to be irresistible. Okay. And then it came back that you have to have referrals. Okay, well, let's just look at this for a second. And Doug, you'll appreciate this more than most. There's 1,800 automotive vendors in the space right now that I know. 1,800. If you took a GM 1 hour a day and looked at 2 vendors, half an hour each, It would take them over 5 years to vet those vendors. 5 years.
Yeah, take a while.
So,
but what if they were free though? What if they were free?
Yeah. So
then they just bolt everything on. Let's bolt it all on.
So
well, if it was free, it'd be much easier because there'd be 4 vendors because everybody else would have went broke by giving away their program.
Exactly. So where I turned around and I said, okay, let's just look at that and say, how do you choose a vendor?
Yeah.
And all
valid
the
question.
PMs on that thread turned around and said they choose a vendor based on their buddy
recommendations
referring them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I said, okay, so let's look at a solution like A to Z. Let's look at a solution like DecoSol. Let's look at a solution like Agile Auto.
Yeah.
They didn't exist before. So how do they get referred? And how do you, as a dealer that should be using these platforms, without a doubt, why are you not listening to the noise that's out there about them? Because they have enormous egos, their names on the side of the wall, and they believe that they know what's best because they got their name on the wall. Well, no, that's not the case. It's a small percentage, and we talk about percentages.
Yep.
There is less than 5% of the operators out there that actually are operators.
Yeah,
They're
but
actually doing the job. They're actually looking to build their businesses.
But Peter, when you're talking about that, there's nothing wrong with that, and nothing wrong with our buddy there. At the end of the day, the bigger question, and this is something I was going to ask you and Doug and Larry, is if you go to a conference like this. So Doug's going to this Now Is Not Negotiable conference. Okay, what if you walked into that conference? What would basically dumbfound you if someone actually said, "Hey, X," what would really take you back? Like, it's fine to beat up the dealer or whatever, that's fine. But when you go to a conference like this, what would shock you if the dealer actually said to you? What do you think?
Said to me?
Yeah, about Now Is Not Negotiable. Like, you're at the conference, there's a bunch of dealers there, you're not selling anything, you're just visiting. What would shock you that a dealer would say in 2025 about
I would be shocked if a dealer said, the customer experience is stupid. Who gives a rat's whip? I'm going to sell cars anyway.
100%. Yeah. But on the flip side of that, what would shock you on the positive side?
I guess on the positive side, I'd be shocked if a dealer said, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I really think that I need to basically tear this thing down to the foundation and start all over, focusing first on making it easier for my employees and my customers, and then I'll make everything else work around that.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, the reason I bring this up is I was at an awards ceremony with Pash a couple years ago, and there was a room full of vendors. To your point, Peter, like, there's all these vendors, and they're all selling digital solutions and blah 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 blah, and a bag of chips, and everything's better than everything else. And he said something that I think is still true today. The problem isn't on the vendor side. The problem is that the vendors don't really want to work with other vendors. And the problem isn't on the dealer side. As you already said, the dealer's got too much stuff to look at. And a lot of it, they don't even understand or have the time to look at anyway. So it's not that they shouldn't have tools. But the big challenge is, how do you vet those tools? But more importantly, what tools work for you in your process? And to Doug's point, if you're looking at it from a general retail perspective, whether it be Apple or Nordstrom's or Auto Dealer or Cadillac or Porsche, it doesn't matter. You need to be up to snuff with where that benchmark is. And that's why a lot of retailers fail, because they're not up to there, because customers have choices. But more importantly, dealers sometimes, and the free model always makes me laugh, because, okay, so if everything's free for 30 days, let's just say it is, and you sign up for 1,500 tools. Let's just say you sign up for everything. Like, I'm all in. It's all free. You're giving it away for free like candy. No problem. Let's sign up for 1,500 vendors. Let's sign up for everybody. Let's just do everything. That's a problem too, because how are they going to figure that out? I mean, they already have in a lot of cases not only too many tools, they probably have the wrong ones because they buy them and they don't know what they do. But if they had more, that's probably not a good idea. So the first thing I would say is, what do you have now? what do you need and what can you actually handle in terms of change? And I use AI here all the time because, okay, so AI is going to be baked in everything, like fat-free cereal, for example. Eventually, it's going to be part of it. Yeah, go ahead.
By the way, Ian, Peter, I'm not talking about you. You're me and you were cool. Confucius said, never argue with a fool. People might not be able to tell the difference. If a guy says, I want 1 month free, or I want to see you in action, you can live with that because there's a lot of vendors out there that are bad. But what kind of imbecile would ask for 6 months? That's the kind of guy, if you in front of you, you give him a punch in the nose because it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, here's a couple things that I look at, and the one thing that would shock me wouldn't shock me if a dealer said it to me at a conference would be, we just need to get back to basics. The business hasn't changed, and that would shock. That'd be probably 80% of the people that I talk to, month in, month out, wherever I go. What would shock me is someone turning around and going, "I'm lost. I know that the business has changed so dramatically in the last 3 years because of the advent of AI." And Derek Simons has said it often that technology is doubling at the rate of 7 months. So if you're not on that train, trying to catch up to it in your Nikes is going to be very, very difficult. So the number one thing that I suggest to dealers is, first of all, like Doug said, tear it down to the foundation. Do you need all these people in all these roles? Or do you need to add roles and subtract roles? Like, I would strongly suggest to a dealer that is doing anything more than 100 cars a month to have a strategist on board. And that strategist is there to improve the workflow of that dealership, not as a general manager level, but as a true strategist. They're looking out to see, do they have the right tech stack? Do they have the right processes in place? Are they monitoring mystery shops? Are they seeing what the customer experience is like? Are they looking to other avenues? Like, if I was to ask all the three of you, how many forms of vehicle acquisitions are out there right now? How many different channels are there? And most people would say probably 6, 7, 8. There's 12. There's 12 different defined forms of acquisition. Do we have a branding person in place? Is our marketing platform looking at selling cars or creating a brand? What are we doing? How are we operating the car lot as a car business, or as a business as a whole? We need new people in new roles in this industry. Otherwise, we're going to die. Yeah. And I'll take one thing, and Doug will probably concur with this, is dealers don't believe that digital retailing is real. Mm-hmm. It doesn't exist. Digital retailing, we got to get them into the store. The only way we have a hope of selling them is getting them into the store. Yeah, whatever. All that crap that they say repeatedly. In CDK's Insight book, 78% of dealers say that they have a digital retailing tool. 68% of those say that it's their website. And 31% actually have a digital retailing tool. Now, let's forget all about those statistics. Let's look at 3 big companies right now that are either engaged or engaging in the automotive space. Well, they actually all are engaging in the automotive space. So you take Tesla. Tesla, 100% digital retailing. It's worth 10 times, or sorry, not worth 10 times. It is worth more than the top 10 car manufacturers in the world. Total. So that's one. Let's look at Carvana. Carvana is worth more, Carvana is worth more than Toyota. Let's look at the other one that Doug represents, Amazon. Amazon recognized the reason to be in the car business. and it's all digital retailing. All three of them were digital retailing, and they have the power amongst the three of them to crush every single OEM legacy manufacturer as well as dealers.
But Peter, it's like
There's
in war where you fire
difference.
a volley across the bow, right? You know,
But
it's a
there's
warning
difference.
shot. You're going to do something.
There's a difference though between those three, Peter.
Yeah.
Carvana and Tesla are direct competitors of the dealer. Amazon is an ally of the dealer.
Yeah.
Amazon's not trying to. I don't see a scenario where Amazon's going to get into the auto industry and own the business. I just don't think it's in their wherewithal. That's not what they're about. I think that you think about it logically, and it could be Amazon, it could be company X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Whoever really gets the digital retailing experience down so that it is easy for the customer, that the customer trusts what's happening, and it's beneficial for the dealer, that's the one that will win. And they don't have to be saying, and we're going to go after dealership. They don't have to do that. They could simply do what they're doing now and continue to just thrive.
Yeah, well, think about it. Think about it from a food delivery standpoint. So here's a model. So back when I was a kid at 2 a.m, you wanted food. You had a choice of pizza or Chinese. Those were the choices. Could these other industries have done delivery? These other restaurants? Absolutely, they could have. And the same is true with Expedia. Could hotel chains do great service so they didn't have to deal with Expedia? Absolutely. It's a sales channel. So fast forward 25 years, you got Uber Eats, you got Skip the Dishes, you got this, that, and a bag of chips. But what's interesting, to take it back to retail, is I was in a Subway restaurant the other morning. You know, I'm there lined up trying to get a sandwich, whatever it was, right? This guy rolls in from Uber Eats. He ignores everybody else in the store and starts being really rude to the person that's making the sandwich for him. And I'm going, okay, so you're prioritizing this clown who's here physically to pick up a sandwich for not even himself, and you're ignoring these other people. And then so I think sales channels are great, Peter, and I would also agree, Doug, but it's got to be done in an intelligent way. But more importantly, there's nothing to say that dealer group or even brand can't do all of the above as long as they execute. So it's not just about the sales channel, to your point, Doug, it has to be executed properly. Mm-hmm. And I think what the dealer can learn from that is a certain percentage of my customers, let's just say it's 10%, are going to want to buy using Amazon, for example. A certain percentage are just going to want to go to the internet. A certain percentage are going to want to make a phone call or video call. A certain percentage are going to walk in. You can't ignore that sales channel, but what you can do is learn from that and go, okay, in the internet 25 years ago, maybe it was 2%. Now it's probably 70% start or 90% start. So you've got to learn from that while it expands. But Larry, what do you think?
I think that what you said dials into exactly what Peter and Doug were saying. Doug, I am the world's biggest junk food eater. I put every 5 guys in McDonald's from here to Florida and back. And I'm trying to think where the hell I was. I ran in. I just wanted to get some McNuggets and a soda. We're all car guys. It was now 6 o'clock. I hadn't eaten all day, and I was hungry and thirsty.
Okay.
And I noticed something that I've been noticing a lot. The priority used to be you've got somebody in front of you, take care of them. That ship has sailed. You get ignored when you walk into places like this. They're taking care of the people through the drive-through. And I thought to myself, this is an interesting dynamic. The people that are willing to get out of their car are ignored for the people that are too lazy. And I don't know where you are, Doug, but in my area, every Dunkin' Donuts that's in a strip mall has closed and moved to a place where they have enough room to put a drive-through lane. Because if you don't accommodate those people with a drive-through, they stop coming into your store. So I see what you're all saying has tremendous value. I think that if you're not dialing it, as Peter originally said, with the digital end and not understanding it and embracing it and working on it, you're half dead. And I think the other thing is, and I'm very grateful because people constantly need what I do. I don't go into any dealerships. Hey, Ben, give me 1 minute. I'll call you back. And I don't see anybody role playing. I don't see anybody doing the things that just makes such sense. Nothing.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
in the dealership model right today, because they are so concerned with acquisition over retention, they put unreasonable numbers together for their teams, therefore creating a huge turnover problem, which is a massive expense to
Hidden
the
expense.
it's
We'll
unwritten.
all agree a justified expense if it's from somebody wearing a colorful tie.
Yeah, well, absolutely, Larry, and I absolutely support turnover on your behalf.
Thank
So,
you.
with that, they
Wait a minute, Peter. Remember, anybody that robs Peter to pay Paul can always count on the support of Paul.
So having said that, let's just do the math. And I've seen this, and I've had the debates on Zoom calls, LinkedIn, Clubhouse, you name it. I've had the debate. You get companies that say, well, you have to make 75 phone calls, 75 emails, 75 text messages, 20 social posts, and 10 videos, and set 4 appointments per day. That's what your duties as a salesperson are for me.
Yep.
And then you turn around and say, well, what's your quote? What's your target? Well, it's 15. What's the average time to sell a car? Okay, it's 4 hours. Okay, that's 60 hours at a 160-hour work month. Now we say, what's your closing ratio? Well, it's 50% once you get in front of them. Okay, that means that they'll spend another 3 hours per another 15, so it's another 45. That leaves you 55 hours a month to create and contact and get a relationship with over 260 touch points a day. So you're looking at 260 touch points, 60,000 or 6,000 touch points in 55 hours. How can you do that? You can't. Not even with automation, you cannot do it.
But more importantly, Peter, it's if I'm looking at the phone call. Let's just use phone call.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about any other metrics.
Yeah.
What is your average trained BDC representative in 2025? How many phone calls, not emails, not text messages, not video, how many phone calls can they make sustained 7 days a week or even 5 days a week on average? What do you think?
Oh, depending if they're using an auto dialer like Volley or something like that.
Doesn't matter.
They're probably somewhere to get connection and
no, not connection, just dials. Just dials.
Just dials?
Yeah. Auto dialer or not? How many?
Probably somewhere around 45 an hour.
No, daily, not hourly. They can't do 45 an hour.
So then you're looking at just dialing out.
Yeah.
Probably somewhere around 400.
No, absolutely not. So the best trained BDC rep with an auto dialer or not is going to make somewhere between 80 and 140 calls. I would say 140 is a very well trained person. So
I was doing 20 an hour.
Yeah. So how many connections would they have had 25 years ago with those 100? Let's just use 100 as a number. I can make 100 calls today, just calls, no email, no everything else, just 100. How many connections would I have gotten 25 years ago in those 100 calls?
10?
Yeah.
I'd say 10 to 20, depending.
Okay.
How many do you think you get today?
5?
10 to 15 is the upper end. Probably 10 is really the realistic number.
Mm-hmm.
So when you add text messages and email to that, can you do more calls or less?
No, well, obviously less.
Yeah, less. So if I'm hitting up, let's just say I can do 60 phone calls today as a sustained person who does that for a living, not a salesperson, but a BDC rep. And I'm also sending an email and a text because that's my cadence. Does that enhance your connections?
No.
You know why?
No, it destroys them.
You know why? So people have these devices, and these devices are getting smarter at avoiding phone calls. By the way, the latest one is even smarter. And some of them have these devices. So basically what that does is it gives you have 3 distractions physically on your person, let alone what it is. And I'll use an example of a gentleman who's probably the most persistent salesperson I've met in the last 10 years. Happens to be in India. His cadence is so extreme that it borders on crazy, but he gets the result. Why? Because he focuses on consistent activity all the time, and he doesn't get dissuaded with results in terms of people coming back at him. He's just looking at consistent activity. So if we take it from a BDC rep who does that, and I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's persistent. If I take that from a BDC rep to, let's just say, make 60 phone calls, and I give it to a salesperson who, by the way, can't even answer a phone generally that well, how many dials do you think they can realistically make at a car dealership? If you sat them down.
A salesperson, not a BDC person.
Yeah, just a salesperson. I want you to make a certain amount of calls today. How many can they make?
10.
I would say upper end is 30. So if I get 2 connects, let's just say I get 2 connects out of 30. What's the chance I'm going to have that person come down, do you think?
50-50?
Yeah, about 50%.
So if I get 1 appointment a day, which is probably realistic because that's when I sold cars, that's what they were shooting for, 1 appointment a day. How many of those people show up of the 1 a day?
30%.
Maybe as high as half if you're good. So basically every other day you get a customer that shows up every other day. And then you got probably a 50% closing ratio on that. So I think part of the challenge, Peter, and you hit it right on the head. So I'm taking someone who can't do the job to get the appointments they need to sell the cars they need, instead of focusing on how do I train them how to do that, and then adding these other things as they get good at it. I'm saying, okay, Peter, I want you to go get lunch, go get breakfast, go get dinner, show up and work 14-hour days. I want you to send 6 videos out a day, social media posts. I want you to text, email, and call people. And by the way, how come you don't have any appointments?
Well, here's a plain and simple thing. I do LinkedIn marketing for a number of companies.
Okay.
Because they don't have the capability or the time to do it.
Understood.
They don't have the ability to create the content or whatever.
Yeah.
One of my companies that I do it for, I do right now because it's pre-digital dealer. I'm doing 5 posts a day for them. And I have a system that uses highly involved with automation, AI generation, and everything else.
Okay.
I still struggle with the time to do that, and I'm not even close to the level what they're asking a salesperson to do.
Oh yeah, I mean LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn since 2005, so I've been using it daily for many years. And I'm not against automation, even though I'm not a big supporter, but there are tools out there. But let's just say you're doing 4 posts a day for a company. Let's just say you're doing that. And you're automating 3 of the 4 because you should never automate anything, in my opinion. But if you're automating, you should never automate everything. The reason is you can't react to market conditions, and that could cause a heat score. But, it is what it is. But to your point, and I'm using LinkedIn as an example because I have companies all the time approach me about that. LinkedIn is the most robust source of high net worth business on planet Earth. But where do dealers focus for car people, for car customers? They focus on TikTok. They focus on YouTube to a certain degree. They focus on Facebook, right? Those customers are probably more likely the people with bad credit. Not to say that you shouldn't attract those customers, but that's probably reflective in who comes into your market. But more importantly, very few people from a car dealer perspective or a salesperson perspective market well on LinkedIn. They're not good at it. So there's a huge opportunity, but more importantly, what's the mean average income level for your average LinkedIn member? Do you want to guess?
Oh, I would say the average income level for LinkedIn membership would have to be greater than $250.
No, I'm talking like the person who's a member, what they earn in a year.
Yeah,
average.
That's what I'm saying.
It's lower, but anyway, let's just say it's somewhere between 65 and 117,000. So if someone making 117,000 a year, is it possible they can afford a car? Yeah, possible.
Today?
Yeah,
maybe.
But as a woman who's a single mother, not to beat up single mothers, but a woman who's a single mother who's posting on TikTok or posting on Facebook about her political views or whatever she's posting on, or her ex-boyfriend, is that chances are she makes 120 grand a year. Probably unlikely. Not to say you shouldn't advertise everywhere. Do what you want. But I'm just looking at it going, if you're a car dealer and you say, let's just say Cadillac as a brand, your customers probably aren't on Facebook. Probably not. And if they are, they probably have credit challenge. Probably. So I think part of it is just asking a salesperson or a marketing person to do a lot of activity and not really managing what you're measuring, but also saying, okay, you're selling 8 cars a month right now. I want you to sell 15. What are you doing, Mr. Salesperson? I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Okay. I don't want you to do these things. I want you to focus on this till you get good at it. And then maybe we add stuff. Like if you're not good on telephone calls, you probably shouldn't be texting because probably that's a train wreck, especially if it's your own cell phone. If you're not good at talking to a customer live, you probably shouldn't do videos of how bad you are at that. That's probably not a good idea because it's not going to be good. So I think a lot of it is just what works for one person may not work for everybody. That's why I asked Larry about the endorsement videos. Is if I train a salesperson, listen, I have a great customer. They come in, they buy a car from me. What do I want to do? Pick up my freaking cell phone and go, can you give me an endorsement? I really appreciate it. It's hard doing this job. Absolutely.
Hey, Ian, all kidding aside, one of the reasons that I'm able to get endorsements, one of the reasons that I'm friends with you and Peter Smith and Doug Reeves, the reason Brooke Furness recommended me is I'm nice to people.
Yeah.
And I think we've developed into a society where people are so bent on being rude and uncivil and just downright unfriendly. It really doesn't cost you anything to be friendly, but I think it costs you a fortune to come across as cold. Doug, all my sales training never revolves around cars. When I'm in a Nissan dealer, they don't come out knowing anything about it, an Altima or a Sentra. It's all about people. And if we can find a way to maximize our abilities digitally and maximize our personalities and being better listeners than talkers, it's astounding. Because the top end of this business is the ceiling is so high, and we just do so many things wrong or don't connect so many dots. Call a couple dealerships. You'll get some people that are so nice. You want to hug them over the phone, and then you get the people you beg them, please don't put me on hold. So I think it really just comes down to being nice. If these people aren't going to tell you I'm a genius, they're just going to tell you that I attached to them emotionally. I listened to what they needed and I gave them everything I had. That shouldn't be a lot to ask if people are giving you their money for your expertise. Don't you agree, Doug? You call people up, you try to help them by making it less obtrusive because it's one person handling it, but you're still nice to them. You still make them feel good. You don't call and say, hey, moron, you shouldn't have been doing the system you're doing. I think we've lost civility as a strength anymore.
What's interesting is, Peter pounded this into my head years ago about dealers living in a 30-day cycle. And last time, I think it was last time or the time before when we were on Wednesday night show, we asked about about the industry. And I said, where is there an industry where you can basically build your own business and you've got a company that's going to provide you with your inventory, with your administrative support, everything like that. And yet, as dealers pound on 30-day, they're not taking the long-term view. I mean, Peter, you had said that, that role that you recommended for the store, really what they should have is a business development manager that teaches the salespeople how to build their businesses and how to do it the right way. And that's probably falls underneath the auspices of what you were saying, Peter. But really, you would look at you could go up to almost any salesperson and say, if a business did X, Y, and Z to you.
Give me 1 second, Doug. I hate to interrupt you. I got to jump, gentlemen. Stay healthy, Peter. It was great seeing you, Doug. Always great, Ian. Hopefully, I'll see you Wednesday. Doug, hopefully, we'll get a recap from you Wednesday night. Peter, safe travels.
Yep.
But anyway, so if they sat there and said, if a customer did X, Y, and Z to you, how would you feel? And they'd go, well, that would be horrible. And then you were able to say, that's exactly what you just did. That's how they would learn.
100%.
That's kind of the long-term view of it. Yeah, a coach. You know, and that's, I mean, Peter, it comes back to what you and I have said. Quit training, start coaching.
Yeah. So in saying that, Doug, and I said basically in one of my calls or whatever, I can't remember when it was, but we talked about forget back to the basics. Back to basics. What are you going to do? You're going to go back to
A 10-step selling system.
A playbook that was designed in the 70s. Is that what
the 50s? Actually,
is that what you
the 50s.
Is that what you think the customer wants? Okay,
Maybe.
so let's eliminate this for a second, and how did you come up with that? Oh, I went to my 20 group. Great, you went to a 20 group of 20 different dealerships in 20 different locations, and you had a conversation of what best practices were. Okay, great. Did any of you actually ask the customer? No. Who funds everything? The customer. Okay, so if we understand that the customer funds everything for vendors, for dealers, for OEMs, everything, the customer, why not focus on the customer? Why not have 20 customers come into your dealership that bought or didn't buy and buy them lunch and give them a $500 gift certificate for whatever they want and say, thank you very much. We're doing a focus group. Do a focus 20. And get someone to moderate it that's not from your dealership to learn what those people are. We have to scrape it back down to the foundation and rebuild. We can't remodel the skyscraper from the 100th floor down. We have to start at the bottom and go back up again. And the situation is that we have to create new roles within the dealership that have never been thought of before. You look at Patrick Abad at Beaver Toyota. He's got a chaplain in there. He's got a physical trainer in there. He's got this. He's got people that traditionally do not belong in the car dealership, making it better for his team first. Because and we'll look back at Branson's famous quote, look after your team as they'll look after your customers. And that is so prevalent today than any other time period within this industry, because we have to build on a team. And I'll close it with this. A good friend of mine was let go from his Mercedes dealership after 5 years of being a high-performing sales manager to taking them to the best of the best. And he was let go because he had a situation happened at the dealership where he was protecting the dealership's interests, and the corporate turned around and said, well, that's not how we do it. We would do it in a different manner. You know, okay, fine. And it was a takeover, and they were edging out all the management anyway. So it was known that the writing was on the wall. But what they didn't realize is the cost of turning that person over. I did the standardized cost on that level of manager. It's going to cost them somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million in the first year.
Oh yeah.
And they just see it. Oh, we'll just replace them with someone that is under our structure, and we'll have a blip for 2 weeks. No, it doesn't happen that way.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
What is the average dealership in the United States?
Yeah.
Average.
Yeah.
Right in the middle. How many cars do they sell new and used?
100 to 200 is average combined.
What is the number?
100 to 200 is average.
All right, that's a big range. Is it 100? Is it 125? What is it?
I would say 150 would be your average number, mean average number North America wide. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so that means 50% of dealerships in the United States are selling 150 or fewer cars a month.
Correct.
We hear these success stories of these dealerships, like you just said about Beaver Toyota. Yeah, these are monster stores, okay? It's easy for them to implement something like that. But for over probably 50% or more dealerships, it's not easy for them to implement things like that. They're struggling to make it day to day. They're scratching it out, taking on these
100%.
monsters. The question is, what did they do? Because they have to have an actionable plan that they can enact Well, and those are the stores I believe where the operators are actually having to be on the front lines because they can't afford to have a GM, a GSM, this, all these layers of management. They can't do that. That's the dealerships. So it's like, okay, what do they do?
Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example from outside of auto for that. And this is kind of an example of, and I've worked with stores that have 12 employees that are selling 75 cars. But it's partially about bodies, but it's also partially about ownership of that business. So there happens to be a Tim Hortons near my house, and the guy who owns it is there all the time, 5 in the morning, 6 at night. He runs that store, front, back, sideways. He knows what he's doing. The guy I bought my Jeep from lives near me. He's there even on Saturdays, and he's the owner. So part of it is ownership, or at least being involved in the day-to-day. But part of it is also saying, to your point, and I'll use a quote from a woman who taught my MBA. She said, if you're a business owner, you're not willing to take out the garbage and clean up the floor, clean up the bathroom, then you don't deserve to be one. So the big stores don't need that because they've got the corporate structure there, to your point, to manage it. But if you're owning a small business, whether that be a grocery store or a convenience store, a gas station, or a car dealership. I mean, my grandfather started in gas stations. So gas stations generally led to car dealers anyway, even in the early days. You've got to focus on what can I do with the limited resources I have to create the best store possible. If you can't do that, if you're challenged with that, then you got two choices. You can either sell it or you can retire. That's basically it. You've got to be that dialed in. And if you're not, so if you're an absentee owner, you're a lawyer, an accountant, and you own some car dealers, that's fine. But that's a recipe for failure because who does that then fall on, to Peter's point? The general manager, the sales manager, the service director, the HR director, the BDC manager if it's a larger group, even if it's a smaller group with a small BDC. I worked at a store that had literally one sales manager, one owner, the accountant was his wife, 2 salespeople and 1 BDC people and 4 techs. That was the whole store and a cashier, I think. But they made it work. And the reason they made it work is much like a small restaurant. And I watched a show on a local hamburger joint that competes with an In-N-Out burger. They've been in business 60 years. The reason they compete is it's a family business and people support them. But also they give a shit. I think part of it is I got to give a shit enough to do it. But more importantly, I got to lead by example. Now, that's dying these days because bigger and bigger groups are buying up everything and they're systemizing it like McDonald's. But really, if you're a small dealer in a regional market or even a small city and you're pushing 150 to 200 pieces, use Rob Ruth Ford's a good example, or even you're a small dealer like Dave, he might be pushing 100, 120 tops. He's in a small market. But the difference is he's there to lead by example. He's the owner. He's there.
But I'll disagree with the whole concept that we're talking about for a second here. Or I'll give an opinion. You take it if you think that a dealer that does, I think I worked at a Volvo dealer that did average 7 cars a month new. And 9 used, 15 cars a month, 180 cars a year.
Ooh,
there you go.
That didn't survive.
In a very small market.
Yeah.
And I took that dealership to over 600 in 18 months. So went from 18, so we 3x the volume in 18 months. Now, I could have gone higher, but I was restricted by the owner and what I could do. You take Dan Cummings, Chevy, when Glenn Lundy was there, they were doing 100 cars a month, and it took them up to 800 cars a month. It can be done.
Yep.
It's do you restrict your team from doing it? And that's one of the biggest challenges. Are you giving them all the tools to do it that will draw people from other areas? Look at J.R. Toothman, look at Bob Ruth. They're both in very, very small markets. I think Bob Ruth's in the town of 24.
Dillsburg, Pennsylvania. But the difference with Bob Ruth, Peter, to talk about Bob Ruth, and I've interviewed him multiple times. Do you know where Bob lived as a kid? Or Rob Ruth, sorry, the kid. Do you know where he lived as a kid? They had an apartment in the dealership when the company still started. They physically lived there. Like they were in the store. So again, I go back to my point. If you want to be a Beaver Toyota, you want to be a Luanga Toyota, you want to be a XYZ, you got to start where you are. But more importantly, you have to be involved in powering that growth, because if you're not leading by example and you're not investing in things that you have to invest in when you can, but more importantly, you don't know how your business is being operated, you're an absentee owner. And by the way, Tim Hortons, to pick a franchise, they will not sell you a franchise unless you're there in the store. You can't delegate it. That makes a difference. I'm not saying they're perfect. They're not. But at the end of the day, if you're not involved in your business, you're probably going to fail.
But look at Beaver for a second. Beaver wasn't a big store 5 years ago.
No. There was a plan. Store. Yeah, there was a plan and execution.
And Patrick took them to being the #1 store in the region because of what plans he put in place.
Well, also about what the owner allowed him to put in place. Because at the end of the day, you can have all the plans in the universe, but if the person who owns the business doesn't allow you to do that, and I'll use Benstock as a great example. He said when he first started at Paragon 40 years ago, he thought the problem wasn't the store, it was that they were landlocked. Now, fast forward 40 years, they're the top dealer in the world. How did he do that? Well, he worked with the owner. The owner said, hey, I believe in you. Let's do this. And the same is true, I think, with Beaver Toyota. Patrick is a great guy, but without the dealer saying, yeah, I want to get to 800. If they kneecap you and say, listen, like 300 is too much. Like, I'm good with 300. I got enough money. I got a big boat. I'm fine. That's a different problem. So part of it is the owner, but part of it's also what growth is possible. It's similar to a growth mindset. If you limit your own growth, you'll never get there. If you have that philosophy that I can be bigger than I am, sure, you're going to get there if you hire the right people, but you have to empower.
If you set the bar, you'll only attain the bar.
Yeah, but we're out of time, shockingly. So any final comments, Doug and Peter? Go ahead.
Well, I'll fill you guys in on Wednesday, how this thing goes. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it works and seeing if two things. One, is there a different way to do a conference? It's funny, you brought up Brian Pash recently.
Yeah.
And they would give out awards.
Oh, yeah.
Those awards are basically to whoever paid them the money. I want a legit conference. So I'm hoping this is going to be that. And I'm also going to be very interested as I talk to dealers to find out if this message really resonates. They could be preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Could be the people that show up at this or the people that are interested in this.
Yeah.
But it will be very interesting to see.
Well, it's interesting with Brian because I was at one of his awards conferences when I worked for NABDAT every year, actually, for a couple of years. And I remember one conference, and I agree with you that he was, there was some money changing hands. I don't know how much because it wasn't pretty, but whatever. I remember him standing up at that conference, the last one I think he did that I attended, and he stood up in front of the room, and I think it was at the Wynn Casino in Conference Center, and he said, listen, eat lots of food and drink lots of booze. They're charging me too much for this event. And it's kind of ironic that you say, well, he's taking money, but he didn't like it going the other way. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And I've known the guy for years, but it's just interesting.
So in saying what Doug just said, and I'll jump on the now is non-negotiable thing.
Yeah.
I believe that this event will be groundbreaking in the essence of events. I think Allison Rank is one of the most intelligent people around in automotive and what she's doing. So I absolutely 100% endorse and commend her at what she's doing. I've had many conversations with her. So I'm excited to find out what's happening. It just wasn't in my on my radar to go based on the cost, and we have to look at that. There's a tremendous cost to go on all these events.
Yeah,
and just to hit all the events, it's over $100,000 in a year. It's so you have to choose which ones are important. Sometimes you miss the inaugural one, and you go to the next one. So,
it's right here. I don't have any costs, so I'm loving life. So
exactly.
It's good.
Well, have yourself a great day, and definitely let us know. I'm interested. That one I haven't been to, so I try to at least go to a conference at least once before I make the judgment call. So I went to SOTA. I've been at pretty much every other one. So let me know, and maybe I'll attend next year. And have yourself a great day. Travel safe or drive safe.